Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to the main event! This is Cinesmack! And the winner is...
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 73 of the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, writer, actor, and director, Kyle Fine.
Buy, sell, Deutschmarks.
Oh my gosh.
Second, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Tom Haggis.
Hi, everybody. I'm broke.
Did you watch the Doors movie?
No.
Oh, no? Okay. Third, writer, actor, and producer, Tosh Dillinger.
Hey, how's it going?
So witty. So witty. Fourth, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions, Gabriel Rowald.
Yeah, you know, I was gonna drop the famous line from one of our movies tonight, but I figure that's probably too predictable. So I'm gonna be boring too. Hey, how's it going?
All right. Well, just real quick before we get started, we're recording this episode a little early. Imagine that. We're planning ahead, all because Gabe is on his way to Seattle. So by the time you hear this, Gabe will either be in Seattle or be back from Seattle, representing his team from the Des Moines 48-Hour Film Project for their Best in City film, Paid in Full. So congratulations, Gabe, and best of luck.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, we're pretty excited to be going out there and representing Iowa in the Filmapalooza, the kind of international consummation of the whole 48-hour film project. So,
Well,
Congratulations, Tosh. Oh, thanks, Mike.
yes,
I'm
yes,
yeah.
we have
Tosh,
we have to recognize
Tosh is
that.
part of it as well.
Yeah, but Tosh is not going to Seattle with us. So,
No.
So see, Gabe
he
gets
couldn't
all the
make it,
credit.
unfortunately.
Yep.
No, Tosh and Gabe made a wonderful film. If you haven't seen it, look it up. Paid in Full. It's pretty damn good, and they'll tell you where to find that towards the end of the podcast. All right, let's poke the monkey, find out what we're talking about.
Ladies and gentlemen, day traders and power brokers, welcome to the main event. Tonight, two wolves of Wall Street will wrestle each other to see who conquers the bull and who gets mauled by the bear. In the first corner, from 1987, written by Stanley Weiser and Oliver Stone, directed by Oliver Stone, starring Charlie Sheen, Michael Douglas, and Tamara Tooney. Wall Street! In the second corner, from the year 2000, written and directed by Ben Younger, starring Giovanni Ribisi, Vin Diesel, and Nia Long. Boiler Room!
I've got to start off by saying, and I'm glad I'm not judging anything tonight, because I am not an Oliver Stone fan. I don't know why. I just have not been an Oliver Stone fan. Like JFK to me was just, I thought it was good, but there's so many parts of that movie that bother me. And this was the first time I ever watched Wall Street all the way through. I'd seen bits and pieces of it. I do have to say I like certain things of it, but I'm not an Oliver Stone fan, and hopefully one of you guys are, so you can defend the film. But let's get it started. Let's move on to our first round, which is writing.
Well, you're gonna have to keep looking, I think, for an Oliver Stone fan. I'm not super familiar with his work, and we'll talk more about that, I suppose, when we get to the directing. But as far as writing for these movies go, I got to start this by saying I'm taking an idea that I'm pretty much stealing from Gabe by virtue of getting to go first in this category, and that is that I've never watched a movie and then immediately watched a movie that is basically just a remix of that movie, just updated with new music and up the asshole factor a lot. And put some hip hop in it. It's really crazy. It was a very interesting experience. I wanted to watch these oldest to newest because I wanted to see how much Boiler Room, kind of cribbed from Wall Street, and it turns out like a whole bunch, including an entire scene where they're just reciting the lines. These guys have basically missed the entire point of watching Wall Street. And decided, hey, we're going to be rich assholes, even though Wall Street tells you being a rich asshole doesn't always pay off. As far as writing goes, I thought Wall Street felt kind of incomplete. The characterization didn't feel very good. Michael Douglas was slick in his role, and I liked him when he was talking for the most part, but I feel like it's a movie based around an idea that, greed is bad, money is not everything, but it's poorly executed. And the ideas aren't complete in the movie, and it feels very uneven, and it felt really long, despite only being about 2 hours long. And some of there's very little subtlety to the movie. Like, they come right out and tell you exactly what everyone's thinking most of the time, and it's just not very elegant. Boiler Room is like Wall Street, but just written by a guy who likes Fred Durst. And definitely went to the Family Values tour. They steal a lot from Wall Street. They do a good job, kind of dragging that forward a little bit. What's about 15 years between these movies? And, they tried to make it a little more fresh and a little more updated. And it has a little more characterization to it, not... I think a lot of it, the difference between the two is kind of carried by a better ensemble maybe in one movie than the other. Mm-hmm. But it, once again, felt like a lot of ideas that weren't completely fleshed out and like an arc that didn't feel very satisfying. Had a hard time understanding why to root for the characters I was supposed to root for. And in Boiler Room, they even made it more obvious who you should think are the assholes. Like, it was really heavy-handed. So those are my thoughts on the movies.
One of the things that, are all people in finance assholes? It's such a shallow way to kind of look at people. Like, oh, well, you must be an asshole if you're in finance if all you care about is money. And I'm sure there are some good and noble people that run hedge funds. No one's going to laugh at that. Okay, so I like Wall Street, and Boiler Room. Like you said, it's kind of a rehash of Wall Street, but they upped the complication factor and the scheme that they were running. And at the time, I assume people were probably like, "Oh, this is kind of a crazy scheme they were running." But now that we have, I don't know how long has it been, 10 years since Boiler Room came out. And now we know that the true stories behind what was going on in these rooms is way more fascinating than anything they could have come up with. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like, the movies that we've seen since then, like the movies about Enron and what are some other ones? Big Short's another one, but those movies are much more fascinating, I think, than fiction and Stranger. Boiler Room actually got to the point where I was starting to get lost in their scheme, which I think was part of the genius of it. But Wall Street almost is cute by comparison by the stuff they pull. Like, oh, inside information trading, that's so cute. You guys are you're so adorable.
Yeah, well, as far as the writing was concerned, I felt like a lot of the lingo and the way that they talked about the Wall Street business, it seemed more plausible to me in a way in Wall Street for some reason. And I don't have any experience with it, so I can't say that it actually was more plausible or more believable the way they talked. And maybe just because there was so much more of it, a lot of their dialogue is them, talking about these things or doing trades and stuff on the phone or whatever. And so I felt like that for Wall Street. I felt that seemed a little bit more realistic to me. And maybe my lack of experience in that world is showing now. I don't know, but and then one other thing we discussed was that I felt like the relationships with the main characters and their kind of significant others weren't really well developed at all. They just seemed kind of sudden and shallow and kind of meaningless to me in both movies. And we're supposed to feel like, there's some, they try to build up some sort of drama and tension around these relationships, but at some point they're just so meaningless, and maybe it actually works in this context, but they're so shallow and meaningless that we don't really care. I didn't find myself caring that they were breaking up with these women because we didn't really see anything develop. It was just kind of like, oh, they met once at a party and now they're living together, and then we find out that they're selfish and greedy, and then it's over. And I felt like that was one part of it that was kind of underdeveloped. That there was potential additional drama there that they just didn't tap into.
Who did you guys think had the better what movie had the better father-son story? No, I'm serious because they both touched on it. Which one? I thought Boiler Room had the better one personally. That's me. It seemed like there was more. I know he was in Wall Street. He's going to lose his airline, but to me, the father-son relationship felt more real to me in Boiler Room. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I thought Boiler Room was a little forced. Like they saw Wall Street and like, we need to up this up a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, we'll get into it, but acting. I think the acting caliber of Charlie Sheen. I can't believe I just fucking said that. And Martin. I think the fact that it was real father and son. There was a little bit more. I liked watching that a bit more, and seeing their actual dynamic since they're actually father and son. So.
Yeah, and then what we were talking about before is the term that I used. They make films, and then they'll sometimes redo it, and they'll do a remake of a film, or they'll reboot a franchise or whatever. But this is the first time that I ever felt like they did a cover. It's basically the same story, just different performers. And I really felt like Boiler Room was essentially just a cover of Wall Street. It wasn't an homage or a remake or a reboot. It was just like, hey, we're essentially going to do Wall Street, and we're just going to have different people in it. And so I felt like it was a little bit unoriginal in that respect.
Okay, who was Ben Affleck then in Wall Street?
Well, I think Ben Affleck. Sorry, I think he is a piece of Gordon Gekko.
You're right.
Pulled off of him,
he
and just given a monologue. He's given the Gordon Gekko monologue to do, and he gets to do it twice, and that's the only reason he's in the movie.
But it is. He doesn't do anything else. He just gives those like nasty monologues to the rookies.
By the way, if anybody's seen Mallrats, his character in Boiler Room just reminded me of his character in Mallrats, with the exception he's not trying to fuck a woman someplace very uncomfortable. I mean, I could see that character doing that, but it seemed like a port, like a direct, like he walked off one set and onto the next.
See, and I saw him as like a continuation of O'Banion from Dazed and Confused. Like, oh, so this is what that fucking asshole wound up going into. That makes total sense.
That's right.
All right, you guys have anything else to add for writing?
I got to say, when Gabe said that last night, we were chatting a little bit, and he said the cover of the movie, like, it hit me like a bolt out of the sky. I didn't even think of it that way until he said it, and it made perfect sense to me, and I think that's exactly, in my opinion, what we kind of watched.
Okay. I know it's only late February, and Gabe already said his smart thing for the year, so it's...
No, it's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
You blew your load a little early, Gabe.
Yeah, maybe you guys should start finding guests for me.
Maybe
so we don't lose listeners.
Don't worry, I bring 8 more every time, so we're fine.
Yeah, 8 more listeners? That makes
we're fine.
Well, I can alienate more than 8.
All right, Kyle, who are you voting for?
Oh, I gotta go with Wall Street just because it came first, I think, and I don't think Boiler Room improved enough on the formula to give it, an edge in this category.
Okay, Tom.
Yeah, I gotta go Wall Street as well.
All right, Tosh.
Because Tom went Wall Street, I'm going to Boiler Room.
Oh,
all right, Gabe.
I'm gonna go with Wall Street as well.
All right.
That's so funny. You're gonna lose again. That's great.
I love cover bands.
So the plot of Boiler Room is loosely inspired in the life of Jordan Belfort, which biography was later depicted by Martin Scorsese in The Wolf of Wall Street. And
that's the children's book adaptation.
Yeah, The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, minus the F words.
It's about greedy dogs. But you mentioned something about what'd you say? Turning the asshole factor up, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, he said upping the asshole factor.
Yeah. Okay.
Up the asshole factor.
So Boiler Room begins with what is basically an asshole parade.
Right. Yeah.
It's a whole bunch of dicks walking along the screen. It's like, this is insane.
I like to call that a sausage party.
I watched that not too long ago. It's very dirty.
So I think Martin Scorsese tapped into that as well, Kyle, because when he did Wolf of Wall Street, why do I keep saying Wolf? Wolf of Wall Street. He was just like, there you go, upped it even more. So it started with Wall Street, Boiler Room, and then the pinnacle assholishness is Wolf of Wall Street. There, I said it right.
Hey.
Early on in the film, when Marvin reminds Bud to make his daily call to Gecko, Marvin makes a reference to the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. This is an oddity given that the film is set in 1985 and the Challenger disaster does not occur until January of 86. So
it's a time travel movie.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's move on to our second round, which is acting.
That's me. How's it going? Sorry, we had already talked about the acting in Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen. So I did not really care for much of the acting in Boiler Room. I mean, Giovanni Ribisi he's pretty good in most of the things he does. It just seems like whoever's picking scripts for him doesn't really do a really good job, because I feel like he could be doing higher quality films. And that's very unfortunate. So let's. I think but on the other hand, I really don't like Daryl Hannah either.
Oh God, she was awful. I was going to bring that up. I'm not a fan at all.
No, I'm not either. And later on, we'll get into how fucking tacky Wall Street is, just like the style.
Yes.
But so let's talk about Michael Douglas, who is really awesome. Did he win an Oscar for this movie?
Yes, he
He
did.
did.
And he is fantastic. And I love he's got really great range. I mean, he is a very funny guy, Romancing the Stone. But this one where he just kind of just lets it loose and chews the scenery, and it's tough to do that, and out-chew Terrence Stamp, but he does. Terrence Stamp actually does a pretty good job keeping things in check, I think. So, obviously, I think I'm going to probably go with Wall Street on the acting on this. I'm trying to think of something that you can salvage from. I want to say something nice about Boiler Room. So I'm going to let you guys talk, and I will think about that.
I thought Vin Diesel, even though he played himself, was good in Boiler Room.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. When I saw that he was in it, I'm like, it's going to be hard for me not to picture him as
Groot.
Not Groot. No, whatever
Triple X,
Dom, or whatever his character is from the
Fast and Furious
movies. Like some kind of badass musclehead kind of thing, and I was happy to see that he was okay in it. And actually, it made me think then also of Saving Private Ryan. He has a small part in that, obviously, and and I thought he was good in Saving Private Ryan as well. So I was a little bit surprised by him that he wasn't terrible, because I expected it for some reason.
I thought Charlie Sheen, dude, still can't act. I'm sorry.
No, he was really flat to me.
Yeah.
He didn't really have any range of emotion. He was always just kind of the same. His dad, however, was good.
Yeah, I felt like he was reading from cue cards a lot.
And maybe
I know what you're saying.
What's that Saturday? Who is it they make fun of on Saturday Night Live for reading from cue cards all the time? It was Marlon Brando, I think, wasn't it? Or there was somebody on Saturday Night Live where they made fun, where they had during
The Godfather. Yep.
And then like Superman. We also told the story about Superman where he reads off the baby's diaper or whatever. No, Charlie Sheen was underwhelming at best. I like Giovanni. Is it Giovanni Ribisi?
Giovanni Ribisi.
Yeah, I like him. I don't know it was a great performance, but I do like him in most of the stuff I see him in. I felt like it was a little bit over the top where he was trying to get his dad's help so that he could kind of like rescue his character and help that guy that he duped into investing.
Stock. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was trying to get his dad's help, and then he kind of had a little breakdown there. I thought that seemed a little over the top to me. It didn't seem very plausible to me. But overall, I liked him in it.
I think you guys have all give a Jesus.
We all can't talk tonight.
Yeah, what is going on?
I didn't even drink last night. You guys have all had read my mind with these points. Michael Douglas is by far the best actor in both of these movies. He's giving the best performance of anyone in any of these movies. Charlie Sheen is really flat, and I think actually Vin Diesel probably the third best actor in any of these movies, because he's actually like restraining himself. He's not joining the asshole parade. He's like a decent guy. And I know Vin Diesel can actually act. He does it in maybe 1 or 2 movies every 5 or 10 years. But it's possible. What you said about Daryl Hannah hit me watching the movie. I was like, holy shit, I cannot stand her. And when Charlie Sheen was talking to Sean Young, I thought this might be the craziest 2 people to talk to each other I've ever seen in a movie.
Oh, I've got some good stories about that.
And then I thought, if Gary Busey wanders into this shit, that's over. This is the craziest shot in history. But I will say one thing about Boiler Room, and I think Giovanni Ribisi. I watch Boiler Room with my mom, and she can't say his name either. So the whole time I'm listening to Giovanni Ribisi and all these other fucking names she's coming up with. But I felt like he was acting to the level he was because everyone around him was so over the top being a dick. He's like, I've got to be extremely vulnerable and likable. So some of his crying is awkward, and he's just kind of overacting some of the situations. But I liked him. I thought he was a very... I found myself actually rooting for him more than I rooted for Bud Fox. And I think, if anything, Boiler Room had over Wall Street, Nia Long was better than Daryl Hannah as the love interest.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can we all agree that we want to punch Jamie Kennedy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dumb. He had like these stupid phrases that he would say all the time. I don't remember him, but it was. I would punch him even if he was part of my crew. I would punch him first.
I bet you Scott Conn has punched him at least 5 or 6 times because he punched everybody in Boiler Room.
Man, he just drove me nuts. I'm like, go back to what was Scream or whatever your franchise that was. Go back to that.
Yeah,
you should not be in this movie.
No, somebody owed him a favor. Or he knows someone on the crew.
It had to be.
Or they're like, Jamie Kennedy's kind of hot right now. Let's bring him in. We need an 8th asshole.
See, I think Jamie Kennedy is one of those guys that's just friends with a lot of different people. And it's just it's easy for his name to come up when people are sitting around talking like, we need one more body. So
we need asshole number 8.
Hey,
who's a guy that will work for scale and we know him?
I think Jamie Kennedy's ready for that promotion.
Right.
Isn't he a redhead?
Yeah. What's that have to do with
we need the token redhead.
Oh yeah. Token.
Oh, he's a token.
And grow that weird mustache too.
Yeah.
Jamie Kennedy with a mustache is weird.
All right. Do you guys have anything else to add for the acting category? I will say real quick, I really like Hal Holbrook. And apparently that character was modeled after Oliver Stone's father. But I love the sound of his voice. Hal Holbrook's pretty great.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and vote. Tom.
Wall Street.
All right. Kyle.
Michael Douglas is the best actor. I found myself enjoying the acting in Boiler Room more. I know that sounds crazy.
All right. Gabe.
Yeah, I got to go with Michael Douglas in Wall Street.
All right. Tosh.
I'm going to go with Boiler Room just because...
Jamie Kennedy.
Yes. I love a good redhead. So that's why I'm going. Boiler Room to the top.
All right.
Eventually this vendetta you have is just going to bite you in the ass. So,
do you think it really matters to me who wins? I will sleep just fine either way.
It's true. He has no soul.
Okay, now I'm gonna be up all night. Thanks. He can't be defeated.
Director Oliver Stone's first 2 choices to play Gordon Gekko were Richard Gere and Warren Beatty. He also offered the part to James Woods. I read that and put it down. I'm like, that changes a lot of things. Giovanni Ribisi and Vin Diesel, as previously stated by Gabe, starred in Saving Private Ryan. Also,
I forgot Giovanni was in that as well. Yeah.
Also, Giovanni Ribisi and Scott Conn starred in one of my favorite movies, Gone in 60 Seconds, together. So there you go. There is not a lot of trivia for Boiler Room. So I
would like to see the Venn diagram of Scott Conn, Giovanni Ribisi, and Vin Diesel, because I bet they overlap a lot.
They might.
1995 to 2006.
Yeah.
I think they call that actually a Venn diagram.
Oh,
shit!
Nice.
It's not as good as Gerard Depardieu, but I like it.
Kyle, that was good. I'm giving you a silent clap here. That's very good.
Thanks. My favorite kind of claps.
My favorite kind of claps. Right on. All right. Let's move on to directing.
Wait, didn't you have actor trivia for Wall Street? You were talking about Sean Young?
Oh, I have that in the overall.
Oh, shit. Well, ignore me.
We usually do.
Carry on.
That's why the claps are silent.
So, Ben Younger, I think I said that right, for Boiler Room versus Oliver's.
It's pronounced Giovanni Ribisi.
For director.
Sorry.
Tosh, are you my mom?
We'll take that offline.
Ooh. Mike's got something to tell you later.
So Oliver Stone, we kind of touched on him earlier. Directing Wall Street, oh man, both these movies were, the pacing was really slow, I thought. And I don't enjoy Oliver Stone either. Like we talked about earlier, I'm not a fan of his, and when he brings something out, I'm like, it's Oliver Stone, who cares?
Right.
I think Ben Younger, didn't he direct, it's called something Prime? I think it was called Prime.
Yeah, it's just called Prime.
Yeah, I like that movie. Have you guys seen that before?
I have not seen it.
No.
It has Uma Thurman and Meryl Streep. It's good. I recommend that sometime. That could be my recommendation at the end. But where I was going is, Oliver Stone, the movie was slow. He had some really long shots. And I don't know. Neither of his films really, directing-wise, really stood out to me. It was just, it's kind of hash through a story and get it done. It wasn't nothing really exciting, honestly.
Do we normally talk about cinematography in this category as well?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Well, yeah, I felt like it was clear though that the directing of Wall Street to me was more competent directing. Whether you like Oliver Stone or not, it just seemed like it was more confident directing, and it was experienced directing. And I felt like, I don't know, I didn't feel like there was anything really outstanding directing-wise in Boiler Room. And as we discussed before, it seems like a rehashing, but not necessarily a rehashing from a cinematography standpoint. I felt the cinematography stood out much more in Wall Street than in Boiler Room. And one of the key things that upset me about Boiler Room was that during the climactic scene where Giovanni and Vin are talking in the hallway, in the stairwell, and he's trying to get the signature and telling Vin to get out and all that kind of thing. There was a bunch of that footage that was just flat out of focus. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now I can see things where, the shallow focus is really effective in a scene like that. And maybe even shifting focus could be effective, but just it didn't look like it was intentional. It looked like it was just like, oh shit, this wasn't in focus. We don't have time to reshoot, and it's like one of the most important scenes of the whole movie. Yeah. And it drove me nuts. I'm like, I am forgiving, especially when they're doing a shot that is shallow focus. Where if it goes out of focus for a moment and then comes back in or whatever, I'm highly forgiving of that because I realize how difficult that is to do. But in this instance, it's just like this should have warranted a reshoot of this scene, in my opinion, because it just was not good. And that to me, that maybe goes to budget, that maybe goes to talent, but it also comes down to directing to me to say this is not acceptable.
Right.
But we need to redo this, and they didn't. They chose not to for some reason. And so,
what about all the times Oliver Stone had Daryl, or what's her name? Yeah, Daryl Hannah in frame. I mean, that's way too much.
Now, I have to say another cinematography moment that actually stands out to me, and I still remember seeing this the first time, is the vertigo effect in Wall Street, mm-hmm. where Charlie is kind of starting to figure out that the world is falling apart around him. It's closing in on him figuratively, and in that sense, also literally with that shot. And I still remember that shot from the first time I saw it. I'm like, that to me was really cool because it was a cool effect, and it also made a statement about that character's inner kind of turmoil and situation at the time. And so I thought, that was really good use of that shot.
Well, to speak about some of the shots, I mean, when he confronts Gecko about the airline and what he's going to do with it, I mean, you're talking about 2 very long takes. Mm-hmm. The only time that it gets cut is when Gecko says because it's what is it, unmovable, or because he can dismantle it, or whatever it was he said, and then it goes right back into another long take, a single take. And I noticed that he did that a few times in the film, and the cinematographer did. I really enjoyed those. I liked watching those. It's that moment when you're like, oh, hey, there's not a cut yet. There hasn't been one. So I don't know. I really like long takes.
Yeah.
But I was going to bring up real quick, and I'm sure, and it happens, but when they're on the private plane and every time they go to Mike Douglas, there's a mirror behind him where you can see the boom mic.
Oh, really?
In the mirror. And then every once in a while see someone's hair or see a shoulder and stuff. And I have to be honest, I don't think I probably would have caught it if I didn't have that eye. But I don't know. It felt like they were actually up in the air because the light on the walls was moving, and I don't know if they were, doing that outside the plane on the ground just to give it that more feeling that they are in the air, or if they actually were in the air and shooting, because it felt very claustrophobic. Some of the shots did. Like the shots were very, wide lens. We don't have a lot of room. I need to be able to get up here, and since we're on a wide lens, my camera's going to be right in your face type of thing. And that's just the way it felt to me.
Yeah, Gabe, they should have reshot those, shouldn't they? Yeah.
Maybe, but at least they were in focus.
Yeah, at least they were in focus.
I saw a boom mic. Come on.
For me,
they probably should, or use visual effects. They probably didn't have the tools. I mean, I think there's a lot more leeway for that kind of stuff these days. Because now if you see that, if you catch it, you can say, "Oh well, we just need to send that down to the visual effects department and get that taken."
Tom, what were you gonna say?
I mean, Oliver Stone. He's kind of hot and cool for me. I think Wall Street is probably my favorite Oliver Stone film. I'm not a fan. I mean, I go through his list, and what I get are some movies I enjoyed watching once, but I'm not really interested in seeing again. I think Platoon is his best film. I feel like he's constantly trying to live back up to that level. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that there's always this kind of this glaze of, this psychotic, frenetic pace, and Wall Street doesn't really have that. Everything is pretty much held under control, which is weird because at the same time, he does a really great job of the stock market scenes, getting the tension of the scene and how stressful those scenes were, which I thought Boiler Room didn't have any of that. I mean, I just didn't feel like the stakes were very high in Boiler Room. Like, okay, so if they don't get their sales, then they're just gonna go get a job somewhere else. And whereas I feel like the characters, there's a lot more at stake in Wall Street, and that's all done through the director, expressing how important it is what's going on. So, I don't know where I'm going with this.
You kind of hit on something though, Tom. I was when I was going through trivia, he made a conscious effort for all the scenes, on the trading floor and in the call areas, very handheld, very frenetic. Mm-hmm. And the only time that you kind of notice steady shots, like on tripods or a nice slow dolly or something like that, was when he's talking with his dad, because they're trying to give the feeling that his dad is very stable and very down to earth, and everything else is very frantic, and which it is, and I think I agree with you on that. I got that feeling right off, in that Wall Street did a better job at showing the franticness, lack of a better word, of the trading floor and the call rooms, the boiler rooms. So,
and the other thing is that with with Boiler Room, I mean, because it's like cast of assholes. I don't fucking give a shit if these guys make their calls or not. And I mean, and they're ripping off common people. And as somebody who gets 20 calls from telemarketers a day, I'm rooting for them to fail. Whereas what Oliver Stone did by putting, Bud versus Gordon, eventually setting them up so that they're both trying to kind of outsmart each other, that was compelling. And I didn't know who I wanted to win, but I knew that it was going to be a great grudge match. Whereas Boiler Room is like, hey, let's cheer on these assholes ripping, unsuspecting people off, and it's all you can do is kind of, hold your nose and shake your head. So it's, that's it for me. It was a lot. I mean, it was impossible for me to get engaged in Boiler Room because of that. So fuck them.
Well, I feel pretty bad going last in this category because I think everybody else in this show has been behind the camera way more than I have. And I think you guys all made the best points. And I know this isn't Cinna agree, not agree a smack. That wouldn't make any sense.
Oh, it could be that too.
But you guys have a much better eye for this. And I think, to me, the directing in Wall Street is remarkable to the point that you can say that's good or that looks pretty. That's a good shot. It's well done. Well, cinematography is good. Boiler Room, I didn't notice anything about it. Like the directing didn't stand out to me in any way. I thought the vertigo shot was very cool. I can't remember what that's called. I've always loved shots like that. That's one of the longest ones I've seen like that. That kind of, what is it, a pull out and a zoom in at the same time to create that sort of. Okay, so usually they're shorter scenes like that. You just get that effect for a little bit. This one felt very long. And I think that's pretty cool. The camera movement's good. I like the cinematography in Wall Street much better. And I think this is Oliver Stone when he was really hot. He's coming right off Platoon. He goes on to do Born on the 4th of July, then JFK, in the next few years. Some of his stuff's a little heavy-handed. I mean, he puts homeless people standing next to almost every stockbroker as they walk through the street. Like, he's obviously trying to hammer a point home. But I thought his directing was notable, and Boiler Room was just very forgettable.
All right. You guys have anything else you'd like to add? All right, let's put it to a vote. Tosh.
Unfortunately, I have to go with Wall Street. Gosh.
All right. Tom.
I think we're going to go with Boiler. No, I'll go with Wall Street.
All right. Kyle.
Should I be the anti-Tom? No.
There can only be one.
Okay.
Sorry, that's my role.
And Gabe.
Whether you like Oliver Stone or not, the directing of Wall Street is confident and competent, and so it has to get my vote.
All right. Oh, where's my trivia? There it is. In the scene where Chris, Vin Diesel, and Seth, Giovanni Ribisi, are waiting outside Greg's, Nicky Katt's house, we never see the car move or get turned on. Before they shot the scene, Ben Affleck was sitting in the car listening to music. He accidentally took the car keys home with him. They had to shoot the scene that night and couldn't find Ben. They shot the scene with the car where it is and lit up the house so there wouldn't be a reflection of the camera and crew. So yeah, a little almost indie move there. Sometimes we've had to do that. Early on the shoot of Wall Street, Oliver Stone tested Michael Douglas by enhancing his repressed anger. According to the actor, at one point, Stone came into Douglas's trailer and asked him if he was doing drugs because, quote, "you look like you haven't acted before," end quote. The shocked Douglas, who did more research and worked on his lines again and again, pushing himself harder than he had before, all of his hard work culminated with the "greed is good" speech, which I have to agree. That speech was pretty over the top, and I think Douglas just nailed it. All right, let's move on to our fourth and final round overall.
Wow, we've covered a lot of material here actually with these already. I'm not quite sure what to address in overall for these. A lot of times we'll talk about music here. I'm not sure.
Oh, the music in Wall Street was awful.
And one thing I think Kyle mentioned it earlier is the music in Boiler Room stood out, but not necessarily in a good way. And maybe at the time it wasn't so noticeable.
Right.
Maybe it made sense at the time when it came out, but now it seems really dated and like why a lot of the music just didn't seem to fit. It's like, why is this music in here? It was almost like the director or somebody was a fan of this type of music at the time. What would you call it, Kyle? What style of music was that? It was
I'm going to sound like a lame white guy, but it just sounds very urban. Like it was very hip-hoppy sort of, but not notable songs or anything you could pick out. Right. Just like really generic scoring that just like has a hip-hop flavor. And it's so strange to have like a hip-hoppy stockbroker movie.
Right, it does.
It's such a weird combination.
So a lot of times we'll talk about great music, that music that stands out because it's, there's a great theme or it just really adds to the mood of the scene or something. But in this case, I feel like in Boiler Room, the music stood out for the wrong reason because it didn't really fit. It seemed kind of like an antithesis to the actual, story or mood of the movie.
Well, I took it as in these guys are just thugs. And I think once I thought that, it felt like it fit more. Like, they are thugs. I mean, Scott Conn punches everybody. These guys are just...
He's a literal, like, physical.
Right. They're just thugs. They're preying on people and their life savings just to make $1 million. That's the whole thing is, I can make $1 million in 3 years. And they didn't care how it was made. I mean, they were like the updated gangsters. They were just doing it by phone and taking your money instead of robbing you. At gunpoint.
Right.
So to me that worked, and the music, just real quick since we're talking about it, the music in Wall Street was awful. The score was just hideous. I mean, so dated. And sometimes you can watch these movies that came out in the 80s, and the score you're like, oh yeah, I remember that sound. This was just like a horrible mess, and the best song out of both films was Frank Sinatra. And yet here we go, another film set in New York, and what do we have? Frank Sinatra.
Right.
It's just sorry.
Don't you diss Frank.
I am not dissing Frank. All I'm saying is, can we have a movie happen in New York and not use Frank Sinatra?
No.
Nope.
That's like Fight Club rules. That's the one rule of New York filming. You have to have Frank.
You got to have Frankie. All right, fair enough.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things about Wall Street, I mean, even though it came out 2 years after it supposedly took place, it's turned in this really weird period piece where you get to glimpse into what life was like in 1985, and not even like the ridiculous hair and the ridiculous clothes and the shitty music. No, not shitty music, but some of the music was shitty. And like that anybody would pay someone to decorate anything like that.
God, it was awful.
It was just like really fucking hideous, and it was.
Well,
go ahead.
Tosh and I were discussing earlier too the technology.
Oh yeah,
How, it's a glimpse into the technology at the time, and the technology itself doesn't age well, and so it becomes a period piece in that sense as well.
Yeah, and I just think it's something that. It did not age well at all, but which is, I mean, I guess, in the mid-90s, you look back on Wall Street and you're just like, oh my God, this is not good. But now that we're 30 years removed from it, that's ridiculous I'm saying that, but 30 years removed from the movie, it does kind of, it's this little time capsule from 1987 to, see what life was like back then. And it's funny because I had to look it up. I thought it came out much later than it did, but it came out right after supposedly it took place, which is very surprising.
Yeah.
Did you guys like that steak tartare dish that he had?
Oh God!
How gross was that?
With that
looked like uncooked meatloaf.
It is.
With an egg.
It is.
uncooked
Tartare is
meat.
uncooked.
Oh well, you can tell I don't watch the cooking channel. What the fuck do I know?
God,
Who would eat raw hamburger? It's bizarre.
It was a hamburger. It was steak. Okay. Steak tartare.
Man. Whatever.
You know, I need to say something real quick about acting. We skipped over. We went through acting, and I didn't say anything about John C. McGinley.
Oh,
but
yeah.
he's my favorite character in both movies combined. I mean, Gordon Gekko's awesome, but I love John C. McGinley's character, and Scrubs is one of my favorite shows, and I love that he got to basically keep playing that character for 9 years on Scrubs. So
Yeah.
he's such a glorious asshole. I just love it.
But he's the fun asshole.
Right.
He is.
They took all the fun out of the assholes in Boiler Room. They're just like, look how big assholes these assholes are. There's like zero fun. John C. McGinley is a fun asshole.
Right.
That's a fun enema when you take all the fun out of the
That's
asshole.
right.
Yeah.
It's true.
Wow. Getting to John C. McGinley, the first movie I really remember him in is, and I can't believe I'm going to admit this, Wagons East. Do you guys remember that? The John Candy Western?
Oh, John
Isn't that his
Candy.
last movie?
Yeah, this last movie.
Yeah.
But he plays this cowboy. He's a gay cowboy, and it is just hilarious. I love John C. McGinley, and ever since then, I've been a big fan of John C. McGinley. He just makes me laugh. You guys are right.
Yeah.
He is the funny asshole. Like he is. All right, sorry. Go on, guys.
Whenever you see him walk on screen, you're like, he's going to act the shit out of this.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to be subtle. He's going to act all over you. And, like, that's enjoyable. And he is really good in Scrubs. He's fucking great in Scrubs.
Yeah.
But, oh, man. When's the last time you heard a cover and you thought it was better than the original? Like, it almost never happens. And I think that's one of the big problems I have with Boiler Room is it lost, in the translation, it lost a lot of the good things about Wall Street and doubled down on some of the really bad things, like the bad romance and the sort of hot and cold father-son relationship. And I just think it missed what it wanted to be. I don't think it hit where it was aiming. And so what we got was a movie that doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't feel as good as the original and isn't notable in its own right because it's so close to the original.
Right.
But Wall Street didn't have Jamie Kennedy. Let's just.
I mean, that does tip the scales a little bit towards.
It does, right? And
See,
it didn't have a Batman either. I'm just saying.
As with all things with Jamie Kennedy, you have to pause and say, but what if it had been Seth Green? Would that have put it over the top? Could they not get Seth Green? That's why they went with Jamie Kennedy?
No, he was busy doing
Probably with Austin Powers.
Austin Powers, yeah.
Right, right.
He's like, no, I can't play asshole number 8, and I don't want to dye my hair red, but my good friend Jamie Kennedy,
He's available.
give him a call. Give him a call.
So Jamie Kennedy is just the TV version of Seth Green.
Yes.
He's the TV adaptation. They're like, dye your head red. We couldn't get Seth Green. Makes sense.
When they make a story about Seth Green's life, Jamie Kennedy's going to play him.
Yes, there you go.
I would actually pay to watch that movie just because it would be so fucking strange.
All right, you guys want to add anything else to overall, like besides the horrible music, the really bad decorating?
What's up with Sean Young's eyebrows?
Oh God, this
Bizarre.
is. I think this is when
So bizarre.
she's getting ready to lose her mind.
You can see her cracking?
Yeah, you could definitely. see her
she's
cracking.
in this movie for like 3 minutes.
Yeah, and there's a
She's
reason for that.
I think they tried to bury her.
There's a reason for that.
I do want the sushi rice maker that he had. That he
Oh, yeah,
rolled
that
around.
was pretty cool.
That was pretty sweet. I was like, man, I've never seen one of those before.
Yeah.
And what about the robot? And
Oh, shit.
dude, are all 80s movies like I remember Rocky?
3.
Yeah.
Rocky 3.
Happy
Yeah.
birthday, Polly.
Wow.
4. Rocky 4.
Was it
Sorry.
a-
Rocky 4. Sorry.
Was it like a drink robot or something?
Yeah. It made
like a butler.
It mix drinks, and it didn't steal the silverware. Is what.
Oh,
it
yes.
said.
Oh, Gordon Gekko's a horrible racist.
Are we surprised?
No, not at all.
No.
You know what? You
anymore.
watch you watch Wall Street, and something like Sky Mall makes sense.
Really obscenely wealthy.
Yeah, that's probably how Sky Mall got started.
Yeah.
The
market for that.
founder of Sky Mall saw that movie and was like, I could sell this shit.
Sell this shit.
Ooh, Butler
do
Robot and some raw steak tartare.
Maybe the robot can make it.
I store all my raw meat inside this robot.
Everybody it's a steak tartare robot.
It's disgusting. And of course, in Wall Street, they have to have the scene of them doing cocaine. I was waiting for it the entire time. Like, this is an 80s movie. Someone do coke.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you know when they're in the restaurant you're gonna eat the steak tartare? Do you see the waiter like move the whole table so they can get into the booth?
Yes.
That is just weird to me. Like, they moved it like all the way over so they can get in. I'm like, what kind of effing restaurant is this? Just sit down. Have my steak tartare. I'm
here to eat raw meat. I don't have time to move this table.
We will move your table, but we will not cook your meat.
Right.
This is the weirdest restaurant I've ever been to. It must be for rich people.
It's one or the other.
I'll have a hamburger and a stationary table, please. I don't want to die of some terrible wasting disease. Jesus, I get consumption from eating this shit.
All right. You guys ready to vote on overall?
Yes.
All right. Gabe.
Yeah. Well, I think overall, I felt like Wall Street was a more competently made film, and it wasn't derivative necessarily of anything else that I'm aware of. And we do talk about rewatchability. I'm not sure I would necessarily be eager to come back to either of these two, but I was actually looking forward to seeing Wall Street again, because I had seen it when I was younger and was kind of interested in seeing like how would I feel about it today.
Right.
So I think I have to give my overall vote to Wall Street.
Well, didn't you decorate your first house just like Bud's apartment?
Yeah, and I briefly dated.
That.
Yeah, I briefly dated Daryl Hannah. But
he was blind then, so give him some.
she was blind, or
no, you were.
I was
that's
blind.
why you dated.
Well,
get hit the ugly stick.
Tosh.
Boiler Room.
All right.
Just because I know it's going to be a clean sleep otherwise.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, I have to go with Wall Street because my integrity as a panelist is more important than proving someone wrong.
And once again, I will lose no sleep whatsoever on any decision I made today.
Kyle.
Wall Street. I have very little integrity, but it was a better movie.
Fair enough. All right. Charlie Sheen and Sean Young didn't get along at all on Wall Street.
What?
It got to the point...
Yeah, like two cats in a sack. Why would they not get along, right?
It got to a point where Sheen stuck a piece of paper on her back saying, "I am a see you next Tuesday." No one pointed it out to her. Also, she was very upset because she wanted Daryl Hannah's part. And she was routinely late to set. So they kind of wrote her out of the movie. She was supposed to have more parts. Or more scenes. Sorry. She was supposed to have more scenes. And one of them was actually Charlie Sheen and her. They do the horizontal mambo. And that's one of the reasons why Gecko was so upset at the end of the movie. Not just about the money, but also because Charlie Sheen had slept with his wife. But they wrote it out because she was such a pain in the ass to work with.
Like, can you imagine doing a sex scene with somebody that you hated?
Oh yeah, exactly. That's why he wrote
acting.
it out.
You mean my teenage years?
Yeah.
That's why God invented angry sex. As to the note on their back, just legal point. It's only liable if it's not true.
Right. That's true.
Man, I think everybody must have hated Sean Young, not to say like, "Hey, lady, you got a really mean side on your back."
I want to point out a few other things too. This is not the first, or this was the first time, but not the last time that Daryl Hannah would be in a movie speaking to someone named Bud. Do you guys know what the second film was?
Was she an Air Bud?
I got it.
What?
Kill Bill 2.
Yep, there you go.
Boom!
Hey.
Daryl Hannah and Sean Young were both replicants in Gabe's favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
And you guys were speaking about technology. Well, Wall Street was the first feature film to show a character using a cordless mobile cellular telephone.
I wonder if that actually gave Michael Douglas cancer.
You son of a bitch! You stole it from me!
Really?
Well, my thought was, Michael Douglas is a very famous reason for having cancer, but maybe it's the 800 cigarettes he smoked in this movie. And the giant radiation thing he has held to his face while he's on the beach.
He actually,
maybe it was a tartar.
There was something in the trivia where he was smoking, I think, 4 packs a day just to be able to get through the scenes. Because he had to keep smoking for the film. And so it was like, okay, I got to light another one. It was crazy. It was a crazy amount of cigarettes.
How many people that were watching that scene on the beach were like, he's not getting a good signal out there?
Yeah.
They would be like this.
Day.
What's that, Gordon? You're breaking up, Gordon. Are you on a beach? What's going on?
All I hear is water.
Hey, call me back.
Fun fact, I actually had one of those book phones in the 90s.
Book phones?
Yeah, that's what they call them, are book phones.
Really? Like that?
Yeah.
Those big ones like that?
Yep.
I remember my dad's first mobile phone was a bag phone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it was mostly battery. It was essentially a battery with a regular phone headset attached to it.
Yep.
Like your old wall phone would have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon had one of those.
They had a bag phone?
Yeah, they had a bag phone. I remember that for some reason. All right. Let's move on to our recommendations for this month, and we will go back to the top. We'll start with Kyle.
All right. Gabe, great minds think alike for the Michael Douglas cancer joke. Way to go. Both of us are terrible people.
We are.
I'm going to recommend a movie I just watched a couple days ago called Green Room with Anton Yelchin, Ali Shawkat, Imogen Poots, which I think is a funny name, and Patrick Stewart. It's about a punk band that gets caught up in something they didn't expect at a neo-Nazi club, and it turns into a very tense thriller that I think is really original and very surprising, and I enjoyed it a lot. It's very violent, so if you're not into that kind of stuff, steer clear, but I liked it. All
right. Thanks, Kyle. Tom?
So my movie, sticking with finance stuff, is a movie from 2011, and it's called Margin Call, and it's about an investment bank takeover. It takes place over the 24-hour period, and it's a very tense financial thriller. So it has a lot what Wall Street and Boiler Room were lacking, and the tension of it. It doesn't really leave you behind too much in terms of the technical jargon and how things move very quickly, and they keep you up to speed to it. And it's a really cool look at some of the things that led to the financial downfall of 2007.
All right, thank you, Tom.
No problem. Oh, and it's got Stanley Tucci in it. Sorry.
The Tooch.
I always got to say Stanley Tucci. I'm so sorry. Tooch.
I love the Tooch. All right, Tosh. From Tooch to Tosh.
Well played. I'm going to recommend the Lego Batman movie.
Oh, it's so good. It is so good.
I'll say it's probably not as good as the original Lego movie. I really enjoyed that, but the Lego Batman movie it's really, really fun. If you're a Batman fan like I am, it references every single Batman there's ever been. And there's so many inside Batman jokes that I was laughing a lot more than my son and my daughter because they didn't understand it yet. But I really enjoyed it. It's out in theaters right now. So go see Lego Batman.
All right. Thank you, Tosh. Gabe.
Well, I'm going to go with a little bit older film that is also kind of financial related to a certain degree. It's not the primary focus, but it is kind of financially related. I'm going to recommend American Psycho. Talk about assholes. This movie shows the epitome of assholes. And there's a little review thing I'm looking at online right now. It says it's like describing the movie in a sentence. It says, "You'll never look at business cards the same way again."
Yeah.
And there's the scene in the movie where they have the business cards, and it's like they're comparing their dicks. It's that scene is so fun and so well done. They're talking about the font and the color of the card.
Eggshell white.
Yeah, it's so awesome. And a lot of the little strange monologues about music are just so entertaining. I just find it so well written, well acted, and it's a very enjoyable film. So if you've never seen American Psycho, go check it out.
All right. Thank you, Gabe. I want to add something to that. I know some of you are Weird Al fans, and some of you know who Huey Lewis is. But Huey Lewis and Weird Al did a video, I believe it was late last year, and it's called American Psycho with Huey Lewis. And he actually recreates a scene from American Psycho with Weird Al Yankovic. And it's fantastic. So if you guys get a chance, it's like 2 minutes long. It is brilliant. It is so funny. So check that out. I real quick, I want to unrecommend something. I want to tell you guys to steer clear of it because I made the mistake. Because I am a huge history fan and a big documentary fan. And I saw something on Netflix, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll watch it. I'll give something Oliver Stone did a chance. And it's called The Untold History of the United States. And it is a 10-part TV series documentary, which... God, where do I... it is more conspiracy theory than history. And it tries to tell you these things and tell them to you as fact, and they are just horrible. It's awful. I was like, okay, first episode's kind of weird. Second episode, this is really pissing me off. Third episode, I'm like, I am done. Never going to touch this again. So please do yourself a favor. Do not watch The Untold History of the United States if you want to be educated correctly.
Wow, that sounds like something a reptilian overlord would say. I knew it. I knew it.
But my recommendation for this month is a film that I absolutely loved. I had wanted to see it, and I finally got to see it last month. It is called The Big Short. And I imagine most of you know what it's about, but it is a film about four Denzians in the world of high finance. They predict the credit and housing bubble collapse of the mid-2000s. And they take on the big banks for their greed and lack of foresight. It has Steve Carell, Christian Bale, Ryan Gosling, and Brad Pitt. And I have to say, it is well done, well acted. Steve Carell just knocks it out of the park. I loved his performance in that movie. And Ryan Gosling, he's good in everything, right? Right? No? Okay. He's really
I
good.
like Ryan Gosling.
He is good, yeah. He is good.
He's really good in this. I mean...
Is he another one of those guys that I'm just going to have to hate because he's so good at everything?
Yeah.
Like he can teach himself to play piano and dance.
Yeah.
And he's handsome and... I hate him already.
He's actually funny. He's like Ryan Reynolds' ass.
Yeah, and
God gave him all the talent.
Yeah, and he may actually be like an actual nice person too.
And it's kind of it's not really shocking to me, but it's directed by Adam McKay. Better known for Step Brothers, Anchorman, and Talladega Nights. It is just a really well done film, and I think you guys will like it. I know most of this crew here has probably seen it, but check out The Big Short. All right, you guys want to find out who wins?
Nah.
No? Okay, we'll skip over that.
Hang on. I'm selling my boiler room stock.
Okay, hold on. And
I'm buying it.
I need to make some calls.
Is that 15 right now? 15? 15 who wants to sell? Who sell 15? 15. 15? 14? 14 half. Dump it!
Dump it!
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Wall Street!
You've lost all your life savings, Gabe. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Gabe. You're finished.
You're either inside
I
or
did
you're
have my high
outside.
point earlier in the episode.
Good.
Anyway.
Right. Well, good news is
Well, here starts the downhill, Gabe.
they're hiring someone to play a redhead in Boiler Room 2.
Semicolon, getting hotter.
Getting hot.
Oh.
Still steamy.
Oh, I did forget to mention this. Has there ever been a movie where the title of the sequel is a line in the first movie?
Oh, yeah.
Because he says money never sleeps. And then
Yeah.
10, 15 years later, they make the sequel. And I thought, it'd roll credits.
Which was terrible, by the way.
I heard it's awful. It's got Shia LaBeouf, and it's directed by Oliver Stone.
It's a dream matchup.
Yeah.
Dream team.
Sean Young comes back. No.
Oh, God.
And there's Transformers in it.
Hey, now. All right.
Shia's like, all my years slumming for Michael Bay finally got me to Oliver Stone.
All right. Kyle, where can people find you and maybe, I don't know, buy and sell you on the free market?
Oh, I'm having to change corners. The fuzz are on to me. But you can usually get me at a decent price most weeknights, like an Uber. I don't charge for peak hours, so there's no charge. There's no worry about that. But you can give me a rating. 4 stars only, please. And you really can't find me anywhere because who would want to?
Fair enough. Thank you, Kyle. Tom, where can people send you steak tartare?
Vimeo, Facebook, the other interwebs. If I'm not there, though, I'll track you down. You can expect calls from me selling stock tips, which has nothing to do with NASDAQ. It's actually tips, cooking tips on how to make really good chicken and beef broth. So check out my stock tips.
Wow.
Stock tips.
Got it.
Got it.
Thank you,
like
Tom.
cooking stock.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm
Gabe.
buying shares in Tom.
You better go. You better go fast, man, because this ain't gonna last.
I would sell that shit right away. I would never buy a Tom. Anyway, you can find me on Twitter. Just search for Tosh Dillinger, and I might let you be my friend or not. I don't know. We'll see. That's where you can find me. Or you can go to One Genome Short and see our award-winning short. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Tosh.
You're welcome. I'm not clever like the other two.
Gabe.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, or like Tosh said, you can check out some of our films at onegenomeshort.com.
All right. And that's where they can find Paid in Full, correct?
Yes, and it is also available on YouTube. You can search for One Genome Short and Paid in Full and find it on YouTube.
All right. So since we are doing this a day after the Oscars, I thought it would be good to do a little recap, and we'll let Tom kind of take over.
So I think a lot of people were expecting kind of a runaway with La La Land. I know I was. I mean, you get record number of nominations and you expect a good night, and I mean, it still got 6. But I don't think anybody's really talking about that this morning.
No.
I think that everyone's talking about the amazing finish, and I personally, aside from the fact that it took away some of Moonlight's glow, as it were, aside from that, I loved it. I thought it was live TV. It was chaos. It was everyone reminding us that Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway are aging very rapidly. And I'm gonna take Warren out of this because I've gone back and I've watched the whole thing like 6 or 7 times today. Because I love like how graceful and humble everyone is in that situation. I mean, there's nobody raging or upset. Everybody keeps things in check and they're very grateful to everything that's going on. If you go back and look at like the documentary nominees, especially the short ones, and the shit that goes down in those, somebody getting the wrong gold statue, in the Kodak Theater is a really minor problem.
Right.
But with that being said, I loved just the chaos of it and the live TV and how grateful everybody was. And it was an amazing live TV moment. And I'm so glad that, we left the TV on after they said La La Land. So it was amazing. So what'd you guys think?
Well, I thought the show was well done throughout. I liked Jimmy Kimmel as the host. I thought he was actually funny. He had some really kind of good zinger lines in there, and I thought it was well produced throughout. And it was just such a total surprise at the end when they had that snafu. And I remember, we were all like getting ready to leave. We were putting on our coats and saying goodbye, and hey, thanks Tom for hosting a great party, and that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden we turn around and somebody's on TV saying, Moonlight won Best Picture, or Moonlight is Best Picture. And we're all like, what the fuck is happening? What's happening? It's like it was like some alternate universe all of a sudden. And it was very strange. And I keep wondering, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I keep wondering if there's not some benefit to these things happening. Because, Miss Universe, how popular is Miss Universe? And how much more do people know about it now since Steve Harvey screwed that up?
Yeah.
And maybe, I take that back. He may not have personally screwed that up. It was probably, a number of things coming together to cause that issue. And the same thing with the Oscars last night. It's like, is it really? I mean, it seems embarrassing and it seems like it should be a bad thing, but is it? Like we were saying before, it's like, well, people are talking about it. I mean, would people really be talking about the Oscars that much today if that had not happened? Is it really a bad thing? And was it really an accident? And I think we know it was, but
I think as far in the known universe, Miss Universe is only really popular locally. We don't know of anyone else in the universe who actually enjoys it. That's true. Right? I've never seen a tentacled or 8-titted woman on stage vying for it, or any telepaths or extra-dimensional creatures.
Not yet.
Yeah, that's the only joke I had. I'm gonna move on now.
Well, travel time is a bitch.
Well, good news, Gabe.
From those other galaxies.
There's good news. It was announced today that Oliver Stone will be doing a movie on the conspiracy theory of the Oscar screw-up.
Of course.
Don't give him any ideas.
And back and to the left. Yeah, I had a good time. I maybe only saw a handful of the films that were nominated, and they weren't even in the running for Best Picture, Best Actress, or anything like that. But I wanted to point out, I really, really enjoyed Viola Davis's speech. Mm-hmm. I thought that was, what's the best way to put it? I thought it was very grand and very personal. All at the same time, about what she said about, we are the only profession that that celebrates people's failures, and we can tell people's lives, and give them depth. So I really enjoyed that speech. What I remember it, but I wanted to say thanks to Tom for hosting. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for coming. It was an awesome party. So I just want to say real quick, too, I think, would anybody be talking about the Oscars today? I think the fact that Moonlight won, if La La Land had just won, no, I don't think we'd talk about it because it would have gone down. I think Moonlight winning is a really big upset and of quite a shock to the people that follow this. No, I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. And I think for a lot of people, it's kind of vindication. I think the better movie won. It wasn't just Los Angeles people. Like that short film on, Honest Trailers. Hollywood Handjob. It wasn't them just jerking each other off. It was actually they actually gave it to the right movie this year, and that doesn't happen very often. So I wish people would talk about that. I wish people would talk about how great Moonlight is and encourage people to go see it because it's. For me, that's why movies are made, or for movies like that. So,
all right. Well, let's put a fork in this episode. It's done. unlike steak tartare. We would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you use. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. For April, we pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and head west as 310 to Yuma, the 07 remake, takes on The Proposition. For Kyle, Tom, Gabe, Tosh, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
Whew, I closed at 3 1/4. I made it. Whew.
I'm up to my balls in Tom stock, and I got nowhere to sell it.
You know what you want to do with that? You get yourself some celery. You get yourself some onions. You put it in there, ham bone. You got yourself a stew, baby.
Got yourself a stew, baby.
Ham bone.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.